Fighters, today on the show, it is time for another Contractor Intervention episode with my buddy Austin. He's a GC in Pennsylvania. He's had 4 years in a row where he has been negative net profit. And we dig in, and it didn't take long to figure out why. We found the one thing that's going to move the needle for him immediately. So check out this episode. And if you want to be a guest on Contractor Intervention, go to thecontractorfight.com/intervention. Austin, welcome to the Fight Contractor Intervention episode. How the hell are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Cool, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? All that good stuff.
Rural Western Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. Clarion County, small town New Bethlehem, PA. Probably 35,000 people live in Clarion County. All right, a lot of farms,
okay.
Small families, hardworking, blue collar as it gets. Patriots. So look great. Born and raised my whole life.
Cool.
Brother started a small pizza shop about 8 years ago, and one thing led to another, into a restaurant, into a gym, into both a food truck. Renovations led to a handyman service, to building additions. So, and now we're here. So,
damn. So you got a few businesses in addition to this one.
Just a couple, yeah. This is the primary, though. This is for sure.
Yeah. And so what do you primarily do?
Well, swing the hammer, try to be in the field at least 6 hours a day swinging the hammer. Maybe I start a little late sometimes. Office work takes priority in the morning sometimes and on weekends. But yeah, through the week I'm in the field. So.
Okay. And are you guys doing like remodels?
Oh yeah.
What's your main service?
Interior, exterior. I guess you could say general contracting, but we bid the work, we do the work. 2 employees, 1 full-time is with me every day, part-time help. In summer times, maybe we'll add another guy, maybe subcontract a few jobs here and there to lighten the load. But yeah, I bid all sorts of work. I mean, anything inside, outside, renovation, remodeling, building additions, garages, porch decks, custom tile. I mean, you name it, we're doing it. I like a variety, so that keeps it fresh. Starting a new project every week is cool. So
cool, awesome, man. So, what did you do in sales for the construction business in 24?
Just in construction, it was like 420 something. If you added in our gym revenue, it eclipsed 500,000.
Okay. So why are you here today, man? What are you hoping to improve or fix or get some help on?
Well, you sent me the thing about having a strong home and a strong business, and I think that's really important. Character is really important to today's world in business, let alone day-to-day life with, your wife, your family. Morals, values, that what defines us there is almost been replaced in society. So I feel like it's ever more important to lead by example. And I think business gives us that opportunity to show others what good is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess.
What's the?
No, I was just going to say, I guess not just be an example, but behind every story, it's not like all glamour either. Maybe we did 500,000. That sounds great, but how much did you actually keep? That was 0. Yeah. It's been 0. 8 years of keeping 0.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, we did it. We're in business. We're doing big numbers, but at the end of the day, if you're not keeping it, maybe you're not paying taxes. Yeah. But you still need to have profit. You got to be putting it in the coffers. And when I first started listening to the fight, it's probably been a year and a half, 2 years now. You know, it's one thing to charge a certain price and try to get that 50%. And that was one thing that I wanted to talk about, was just because I think a lot of people are confused in that. Just like you said, like, what's the gross, what's the top line? Okay, to a lot of people that can be misleading. Like, I could tell you 500,000, that sounds awesome, but how much was it? How much were materials? Maybe that was one job. Maybe it was a combination of labor, materials, overhead. Which, since I've been listening to you guys, I made my sheet. So I know my numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for people. And a lot of people just like look at it like, oh, yeah, 4 or 5 days, 5,000-6,000, call it 12.
Yeah.
And that works, I guess, when you're trying to figure it out. And like the first phase of being a contractor is, I guess in my experience, is like kind of figuring out as you go, right? I didn't have a whole lot of experience. Really been swinging the hammer 3 years day to day, right? Maybe before that, a little construction experience through college, high school, working with my dad, holding the tape measure, remodeling my parents' house, that kind of thing, but nothing legitimate. This is the most legitimate. I learned a lot from an old bull. Old bulls teach me a lot. They got lots of wisdom. So I try to absorb all that, but still the numbers, they never really work out the way I think about it. And getting prepared for this podcast today, I was going through it, and we just finished a job on Friday. I always do job costs since listening to the podcast. And I figured out all in, the most recent job we hit was 33% gross profit. I was like, that's good. But then I'm really thinking about it. And it's like, how could we get to 50? And it's like, okay, we can't really charge more, because it was 10,700 for a shower that turned into a new floor, a new vanity, and a new toilet. So, I mean, that's good. That's a decent number, but we got to refine that. We got to get more efficient. So, like, when job costing, if you do it like Derek and forget the other guy in the podcast,
Tim.
They talk about job costs.
Tim,
the next day. That's so important, because I can actually sit down and reflect and say, oh, hey, look, 2 days ago I wasted 2 hours in the morning. We went to lunch. You get to analyze that. And I'm figuring out right here, if I could save $500 in my materials, whether that's using stuff I have on hand, not making that second or third, refining the takeoff, preparing and planning, save that 500, cut a day of work, that would have bumped me to 52%. So it's like, right there's the numbers. I just got to execute.
Yeah. So this job that you did, you said it was 10,700.
Yeah.
So when you came up with that price and sold it to the customer, were you anticipating a 50%? Like, did you bid it to make 50?
No, I guess not, because there was a change order on this one specifically that kind of saved the day, I guess, if you may. So it's supposed to be just a shower swap and basic, 48-inch shower swapping out to a 30 by 60 walk-in, direct to stud, nothing too crazy. But he wanted a new floor, new snap-in floor, needed all new subfloor, new framing, new plumbing, that kind of thing. So originally it was $8,000, or it was a $2,500 change order, because everything was rotten. All the plumbing had pinhole leaks, and I was already planning for some things. Naturally, we planned for worst case scenario, but I think since listening to you guys, having that conversation of expectation going into the job about not just knowing your numbers, but change orders. You can't talk about a change order unless you know the numbers, and whether that means taking a time out and jumping in the truck for 10 minutes, getting on Home Depot and looking at a couple parts, materials, and then go into the customer with some ammo, I give credit to the fight for, at least highlighting that aspect of this business.
Yeah. So back to the original problem of because I was looking at your P&Ls from 22, 23, and 24, and even January of 2025, you're basically negative net profit every P&L.
Yeah.
So
barely survive.
So do you think, do you think it is a, let me, I don't want to ask a leading question. What do you think the main culprit is that you're not making money?
Well, I think,
if you had to say one thing, what would it be?
I think to unpack that just a little bit would be, I didn't start this like a washout of renovations from the restaurant that we were making too much money, I guess, right? And we were looking to spend some of it. So it turned into spending instead of paying taxes on it. And that just kind of grew into this business. And that kind of came with, because we already had the building. We already had like headquarters. And it's a huge lot for the restaurant and the gym. And then I was just kind of occupying some garage space. But now our business has changed. The restaurant isn't open. My brother's doing only catering, and he's taking his life in a different direction. And we got an Airbnb and a couple rentals, right? But all that, everything I do in the construction funds all that, essentially. So it's like you almost need to get a couple more rentals, right? So that can alleviate the stress from the construction entity, so to speak, so that the others can grow, I guess. I don't know.
You ever heard there's an old proverb, I think it's a Chinese proverb, that says if you chase two rabbits, both will get away?
No, I never heard that.
Do you think? Okay, well, all right, let me get this straight. You got some rentals, you got the construction business, you got a gym, and you got a pizza shop.
My brother's got a catering business. That's kind of solo. Him and my mom handle that 100%. I'm just kind of there.
A lot of times I find that people struggle succeeding because they don't go all in on their best shot of making it.
Right.
They're divided. People will say, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Okay. But what they don't tell you is that they became a millionaire with one thing, and then they added other streams of income.
Right.
Where a lot of people, sounds like you're pretty entrepreneurial by nature.
Yeah.
As am I. So it's easy for us to chase this and all these opportunities. When I look at, and I'm not ripping on the other businesses, but if I'm just sitting here looking strictly at money, dude, construction's the way to go, because you got big job sizes, big chunks of money coming in.
Right.
You're not selling $17 pizzas over and over and over. You know what I mean? Like you could go out and sell a job. So when you're talking about like, how do you raise your gross profit? You basically raise your gross profit one of two ways. And it's usually a combination. Number one, you charge more. Number two, you're more efficient in the field.
Right.
Right. So, so when you're selling your next construction job, I think you got to do, like you were talking about, doing job costing on the jobs, which is awesome. Have you ever done pre-job costing?
Every job. Not every job, but in the first 2 years for sure, Home Depot shopping cart, every job.
Well, what I'm saying is like taking and I can send you, one of these sheets, later on and get it to you. But basically it's the same as post-job costing. So pre-job costing is what I use. I plug in, okay, based on my estimate, this is what labor is going to cost me. This is what material is going to cost me. It spits out a number, and let's just say it's 10 grand. It's going to cost me. I then go times 2. I'm selling it at 20. So that's the first part, is you got to plan for 50% and sell it at that.
Right.
And then the second part is through pre-planning, good communication with your team, accountability, increasing efficiencies. Now you're making sure that you produce it for what you planned on producing it. And when you're focused on both ends like that, you're more likely to hit the 50, or, say something goes wrong, you spend more on material than you thought. Maybe it's a 48 or a 46 or something instead of 50, but it's still way better than a 33.
Right.
So, and if you said something earlier, you're like, I can't raise my prices, because I won't get it. And that's, I think I would challenge that as a limiting belief, because we've got hundreds of guys in like just our battleground program that are remodelers like you, GCs like you, that are selling and producing their work at a 50%. I mean, I'm thinking of a guy right now who sold a $700,000 addition on a home, and he sold it and produced. They sold it at a 50, and it ended up, when all was said and done, coming in at about a 47%.
Wow.
So if you're having a hard time selling at a 50, it could be an issue of just getting I'll just call it what it is, getting some sales training.
Yeah.
Because when you're role playing and sales training and going through these conversations like in practice, and you have the training, you're going to be more likely to sell it at what you need to sell it at and differentiate yourself from all the other schmucks. So I don't want to beat this up, but I just want to say, don't put a cap on what's possible.
Right.
Like you've probably heard me say before, like pricing to the going rate is the fastest way contractors don't make money.
Yeah.
Because 90% of contractors, number one, do not know their numbers. So that means 90% of the proposals or bids that are out there are based on guys that don't know their numbers. So why would I give a fuck what the going rate is?
That's true. I never really thought of that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I would do, if I'm sitting down and you're looking at that bathroom, for instance, I would go, okay, labor is going to be, $4,000, and material is going to be, $3,500 or whatever. So what are we up to? $7,500, right? You get to stroke a check. Basically, you're stroking a check for $7,500 to do Mrs. Jones's bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? Because your cost is your cost.
Yeah, I'm fronting everything.
So you take that $7,500 or whatever the number is, and you go times 2, and now I'm selling it at $15K. And I mean, you've had 4 years in a row here of the P&Ls I saw where you're just not making money.
Right.
So you could stay home and not make money.
Yeah, exactly. We're supposed to do this for money, not for fun.
Yeah.
Now, I will say,
exactly. So,
I'm not saying I know everything. Like I say, I got 3 years of swinging the hammer day to day. So I know that I'm not the best out there, but I am trying to learn every day. All about the building science and the best practices, and learning from the manufacturers, and networking with groups like Contractor Fight, and trying to always seek more information to build better. And, so I think, yes, I could have got $15,000 probably for that bathroom. If I would have approached it like pre-contract with, maybe like saying a little better sales training on, and maybe a little better experience of the pitfalls so we could avoid it. Like instead of piddling around with a door, you charge them an extra $1,000 and you grab the $200 door and put a brand new door in and get that upsell, Right. So I can see where you're coming from.
Well, in the sale, because I'm looking at your numbers on your P&L, and I know the audience can't see this, but I'm looking at it like, you're looks like your phone's ringing, you got jobs coming in, you're just producing work, and you're the one left with nothing to show for it, right?
Yeah.
Like customers getting what they want, your vendors are getting what they want. They're all getting paid, and Austin's the one, who basically put the little burglar mask on, and you're stealing from your family, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm not making any money.
Yeah, $20 an hour ain't shit these days.
Right.
Now, granted, first 3 years of business, we were waiting tables every day for tips, because we were putting back every dollar into new equipment, new supplies, better this, better that, renovation here, renovation there. So this is way better than working for tips. But there's more. Rework the process and work backwards to get 50, to find 50, start at 50, and maybe you'll work backwards and find 60.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where the sales training comes in, man. Yeah, because like if you're having a conversation, if I'm having a conversation with you about this bathroom,
yeah.
And again, I'll just use our process, the Shin Fu that we teach. We're going to pull out of you what's important to you, what your reasons for buying are. That's all step one, the motive and this and that. And then I'm going to transition to the money. And in the money part of the sales process, I'm going to say something like, hey, Austin, based on what you're telling me, this is important to you. You're tired of it being outdated. You're embarrassed when people come over and use this bathroom, whatever their fucking reasons are. And then I'm going to go, did I get that right? They're going to go, yeah, that's pretty much it. You got it right. That way they know that you understand what's important to them. Then I'm going to go, are you cool if we talk about what this might cost? And they're going to say, sure. And you're going to go, well, listen, this is where you can go what we call third party.
Okay.
So Austin, people in your situation like this usually do one of two things. Can I share those with you? And they're going to go, yeah. And you're going to say, we've had some people that they want to pull out all the stops, go with the highest end selections of everything. They want to rip this thing down to the studs. I'm just painting this picture of like high end total demo of this thing, blah, 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 the best floor, the best vanities, the best lighting, the best, you name it. Right. In Austin, sometimes people will pay, 30 grand, maybe 25 grand for a bathroom like that.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm doing there is I'm establishing what's called a high anchor.
Okay.
I'll pause a little because sometimes they'll go, yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking. Okay. I'll pause a minute and then I'll go, or sometimes people just want to update the bathroom. They don't want to go crazy with the level of fixtures and finishes and things like that. They want to do more of a cosmetic, remodel or whatever you want to call it, however you want to frame this. And those bathrooms, they come in somewhere between, I don't know, maybe 16 to 14 grand, somewhere in that range there. Which of those conversations would it make sense for us to have? Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting it in their court. And when you bracket like that, you frame it this way, where you give them a couple different conversations you have, they're going to tell you what their budget is. So you're not mind reading. Okay. And so sometimes they'll say, yeah, we figured it'd probably be somewhere between 15 and 20 grand. And so I'm going to say, well, hey, just so and this is where you can blame. I think this is a beautiful thing for contractors, especially you guys that do bathrooms, kitchens, additions, where they're, big backyard getaways and all, where it's just like where people can dream a little. Mm-hmm. And there's some design that goes into it and selections. This is where I would go, which of those conversations you want to have. And if they go, we thought it would be around 15 to 20, then I'm going to say, okay, cool. I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because sometimes the creative craftsman designer in me gets carried away. And I don't want to design something for you that might be 30 or 40 grand when you're thinking 15. So as I'm having this conversation, Austin, where do you want me to keep us within? Where do you want me to start putting the brakes on as we're talking selections and stuff? So the whole point is you're getting them. Man. So let's just fast forward and say they go, we want to be around 12 grand for this bathroom, 12 to 13 grand. I'm just picking a number. I'm then going to reverse engineer the selections and the work to fit that budget at a 50%. So instead of XYZ, vanity, that's this much, I'm gonna spec this one that's this much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
Information out of them, like Derek and Tim say, just kind of let them talk, hear them out. And I guess that's one thing maybe I could present differently is maybe I try to present too much information on like the paper estimate. I try to be maybe a little too specific, and maybe it confuses people. And having that conversation, like you're saying, that first time visiting, that first time out there, maybe, even on the phone before you go out there, probably one thing I
Yep.
could do better.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's going to save you a ton of time. You're not going to be writing up a bunch of bids for people that are never going to hire you for the numbers you need to make. Let somebody else go get the cheap work and not feed their family. Let somebody else have that shit. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I have a painting company here in Colorado Springs called Simplify Painting. We started in July. I do it as a side hustle. I've talked about it on the show before. We did here. I don't want to make anything up. So I have it here minimized on my computer. So in January of 2025, I had 45 leads. I only spoke to 24 people because a lot of people just weren't serious. They never returned my call. I hounded them forever, tried to get on. And I use our Shinfu where it all starts with a phone call.
Okay.
Well, dude, out of the 45 leads and 24 conversations, I only sold 6 jobs, but it was 40 grand worth of work at a 50 to 55% gross profit. Right. And then in February, here we're the 17th right now that we're recording this. I've had 8 leads, spoke to 4 people, so half of them. I've sold 2 jobs for 34 grand.
Wow.
So my point here is I'm after quality, not the quantity. Yeah, I mean, quantity is great. We all want it, but like, you don't need, nor do you want every job. You want the right jobs for you, because when you have the right jobs for you, you have enough margin built in. They respect who you are. They respect, just what needs to happen to deliver. And they're going to pay more for that when you learn how to truly communicate and sell in a way that makes them feel important, like they're understood. And I will tell you, the majority of people will not be a fit for you, and that's okay. But that's the goal of our sales process, is to weed through them so you could just spend your time focused on the people that are truly your customer.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, again, just talking to you, the videos you sent in, the things you said, looking at your numbers, to me, this is a sales process issue.
Right.
More than anything. Yeah, we could get into all the nuts and bolts of the, producing the job, because there's 2 parts, right? You got to sell it at the right rate, but then you got to produce it at as close to that rate as you can, which comes into, whether you're self-performing, subcontracting, employees, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're remodeling, most of our remodelers are using a subcontractor model, where they're communicating openly with their subs, going, all right, I need this done and this done. What are you charging me? You write it down. If your plumber says $700, I go times 2, I'm charging the client 14.
Right.
And so on with each trade. And then your job just becomes selling the job and managing the project and delivering a great experience. And your costs are locked in.
Yeah.
And so, because here's the other thing, if you're wearing the bags 6 hours a day right now, you're not able to invest the time in yourself to develop your skills as a salesperson, build relationships that are going to generate the right leads for you, and those different types of things. And you're going to be stuck on this hamster wheel of never making any money because you're the bottleneck.
Right.
Just like I am. I mean, literally, dude, I've been not trying to make this about me. I'm just trying to make it applicable to people. Like Simplify Painting, I started, and I knew the first 6 or so months, I would do all the sales, all the project management. And I'm doing it in about 20 hours a week, 16 to 20 hours a week is what I'm spending. Okay. I know with spring coming right now, our phone is going to blow up. This is not my number 1 gig. The fight is my gig. This is a side hustle. So in order for Simplify to grow, I got to get out of the way. I just hired a PM this morning. I'm interviewing a sales guy this afternoon, because the faster I can remove myself out of the wearing the bags per se in the business, now I can work on the business, which really means, back to what you said at the top about character and yourself and strong home and all that other shit. Like, when your business will only grow as strong as you grow.
Right.
As an individual. So like, if you're at $500,000 now and you want to get to $1 million, you got to develop the skills of $1 million business owner now if you want to get there. Because if you stay stuck at a $500,000 business owner not making any money and you're not leveling up your skills, then let's say you grow to $1 million, you're going to be $1 million company that's still unprofitable.
Right.
And you're going to be busier and just have a lot more headaches. So, again, I'm sitting here going, if your phone's ringing, you got leads, which sounds like you do. Sounds like you got good reputation. You probably got some good relationships. Now it's about leveling up the way you communicate, set expectations, and sell.
Yeah.
Dude, you do that on the one side, and then you recruit some. Do you do subs or anything right now?
I have a couple guys that I trust to actually do what they say. I don't care what they charge me because I know it's going to be a great job. There's like 2 or 3 of them that I can actually put my trust in. And other than that, no, we just do all of our own work. So like you're saying, that's kind of the bottleneck to growth is, maybe, I guess it boils down to not being able to charge enough, not willing to get out there and get that training and do the things to be able to hit the mark. And that would, allow for more money to invest in employees, maybe bring in people who know more, pay them more, do more for others, so that, like you say, we can get out of our own way. So I was thinking about hiring a secretary to maybe, because I was thinking, I thought I heard Derek and Tim, maybe there was a guest on there talking about if you're doing less than $500,000 and you enjoy the field work, then you need to be working on the back end so that you can actually put 8 hours in the field, so you can be on site from 7 to 4. You can do all those things if you want, but you got to have the staff and the willingness and the team, the culture, the trainings, and I guess that's where the contract fight comes in, huh?
Yeah, listen, I have a part-time virtual assistant that works. She lives here in Colorado Springs where I live, and she works for Simplify Painting, and she handles a lot of the admin stuff for me. And it's a few hours a week. It's $25 an hour. And that will work into a full-time position at some point.
Yeah.
So I think, I think it's wise to have somebody, even if it's virtual, even if it's part-time, who can handle some of these things for you. Even if you're still going to work in the field here and there, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're fucking making bank.
Right.
The fact that you're working in the field and still not making money, to me, it's a sales issue.
I got you.
You're not charging enough.
Right.
You're either not charging enough, or your estimating is inaccurate, and you're blowing out the estimated costs.
Yeah. Yeah, and really,
so when you job cost
30 and 50% really isn't that much. If you're already getting 30% gross profit, really just what is it, another $1,000 hits the target, and a little better sales training.
Well, look at it this way: on a $500,000 business, if you raise your gross profit by 15%, throughout the year, that's another $75,000 in your pocket.
That would be amazing.
That's it. That takes you from, the P&L I'm looking at from 2024. I'm showing you negative $7,012.
Yep.
So instead of negative 7,000, you'd be net profit of 68,000.
It's a big swing.
Just by that one move. Just by the one move.
Just charging a little more.
Yeah, but listen, you have to you can't just charge more for the sake of charging more. You have to charge more in the context of adding more value, right?
Right.
Meeting the needs of your clients, providing a great experience. So there's a lot of guys that listen to the show or read our shit or whatever. And this is not you. I'm not saying this is you, but what I see a lot is there's guys that, have no discipline. They show up looking dirty. They don't communicate well. They aren't reliable with the schedules, with clients, all these other things. And then they try to raise their prices. It ain't going to happen.
Right.
Because the value you're providing, has to be at or above what you're charging. So if I'm like, it's like some of these guys that are, we'll just call them shithead contractors, right? If you're a shithead contractor who's not reliable, you have issues and all this other stuff, and you're trying to charge premium prices, well, the customer is going, this story doesn't match up.
Right.
Like the experience I'm getting, the way they communicate, all that other shit isn't matching the price they're telling me. So that's why they're getting shot down on price. And they're really not getting shot down on price. They're getting shot down on, I don't trust you, says the customer.
Yeah.
But dude, if I were allowed one silver bullet that would turn your business around in the next 30 days, it would be up your sales skills, man.
Okay.
I mean, I see it all the time. I see people come in, not making money, doing 300, 400, 500 grand a year, making no profit. And literally within 30 to 45 days of barely even getting started with the Shin Fu process, they're turning it around and they're making 10 grand a month in net profit like that.
Wow. Because
they know how to communicate. And in some cases, they're actually selling less jobs, but they're selling the right ones. And here's the other thing. If you sell, a lot of guys are like, well, I don't want to sell less jobs. Well, listen, if you could do half the work and make twice the money, why wouldn't you do it? Right?
Yeah, I guess fear of like not having the next thing.
Right.
Fear.
And the reason you have the fear of not having the next thing is because you're on the hamster wheel of servicing all these low dollar jobs for people that should never be your customer. And so now you don't have any bandwidth left to network, create content, do social media, sales training, all the things that we're talking about. But when you free up that time, because when you're selling jobs, like if I'm selling 10 jobs a month, not making money, and I can go to 5 jobs a month and now I'm making money, I've not only made more money, I've opened up God knows how many hours a month where I can now work on me and work on the business, not in the business.
Right.
And to me, this is all sales issue. Like and the encouraging news is it's probably the easiest fix.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I do all the sales, so that all starts with me.
Yeah. And then listen, I don't want to nitpick. We're running up on our time here, but I don't want to nitpick, your other businesses and stuff, but I would just make sure like your working hours have got to be 90% on this construction business.
Right. Well, that's kind of what happened to the restaurant. Nixed the restaurant. Well, no, we didn't nix the restaurant because of me, but me focusing on this, that was just in the last 8-9 months, maybe a year or so. We made that decision to where I'm going 110% in on this. That really took a big sidestep, I guess, a pivot, if you may. So definitely 110% committed. That's what I was saying about maybe getting a secretary. Getting that extra production in the field. If we're not finding that production with employees and subs, maybe developing the subcontractor network. With those communication skills, building the network, and then refining the craft. And I always say, if you get tired of doing the job, you got to teach somebody to do it, right? So like if I want to be out of the office, I got to teach somebody to do those things. And there's an investment in that. You got to train somebody, you got to bring somebody in and they got to know the nuts and bolts if they're really going to help you, right? You don't want to just bring anybody in.
Yeah. And you said something key there, having time to recruit subs.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll tell you right now, there are some amazing subcontractors out there that love the field. They love the craft. They love doing the thing out there, and they hate everything about running a business. They don't want to generate leads. They don't want to do their books. They don't want to hire, they don't want to pay for marketing. They hate selling, and that's cool. That's totally cool. They have that self-awareness around that. That's an opportunity for you.
Right.
Okay. So that when again, when your bandwidth is freed up just doing the right projects for the right number, you now have more time to, take an hour or two and pick up the phone and just go through drywall guys and call them and have conversations. Go, hey, I remodel stuff. I'm a GC. I'm always looking, for great teammates. Would it make sense for us to have a conversation about being our drywall guy? And when you're just like we're always on the attack for leads for work, we should always be on the attack for building our team.
Sure.
You can never have too many qualified subcontractors because they have other jobs they're doing. And that's also going to increase your capacity to produce work. Like Simplify right now, I've got 4 subcontractor teams. I have capacity right now to do a little over $2 million a year with those 4 teams.
Wow.
So, and the reason I hired my PM sooner than I planned is I knew that every minute I'm not focused on building in the limited time I have a week. I have got to be building relationships and I've got to be closing deals. And I can't be distracted by running the field and doing final walkthroughs and all that shit, because that's the bottleneck.
Right.
And dude, I'm telling you, we're going to explode over the next year or two and Simplify once I put a couple of these pieces in place, and then I can work on the bigger picture, higher dollar things of the business. And I see the same for you. We're basically at the same revenue right now in our companies.
Really?
Simplify and
You're just
your production company.
You're doing it more efficient, I guess. And I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah. And I'm already a little more than a half million dollar run rate. We started in July of last year. In our first 3.5-4 months, we did $200,000 at about 54% gross profit. Okay. I took November and December off because I had a lot of things going with the fight and travel and this and that. And I'm like, fuck it. And I kicked it back up in January and we did, 40. And this month, we got a couple things here that I got verbal commitments. I don't have signatures, so they don't count, but they're going to come through. And when I get signatures and deposits, February here, we're going to do 65 grand.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing.
So, I'm already at 30 and I got a couple more on the hook right now. And the only reason I'm able to do this is my bandwidth is freed up because I'm not running out. Like I didn't run out to 45 homes in January and do free estimates. It started with the Shin Fu, talked to 24 people, and out of the 24, 6 were a good fit.
Right.
So I spent my time with those 6 and we fucking killed it on those jobs. So to me, dude, number one, plan for a 50% before you spit out a number to a customer. Get clear on your costs, multiply by 2. All right. And then you got to execute it at the 50. And that's where your project management comes in.
Right.
Communicating with the client, your subs, and coordinating the schedules and making sure, we're on task. And then all your other time, you're prospecting, building relationships, creating content, social media, and training yourself as a sales guy. You do that, dude, you'll hit $500,000 or more again this year, but the difference will be you'll have 75 to 100 grand in the bank at the end of the year.
Well, I'm going to challenge myself to do that.
Cool. I love it. Anything else before we wrap up, man?
No, I mean, it's not easy, it's not easy, but it's worth it.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
Simple.
Right? It's simple. I mean, here's business in a nutshell. If you want to have a profitable business, this is it. You got to sell something, you got to produce something, and you got to sell the thing at an amount higher than what you produced it at.
Yeah. That's it.
You do that, that's business. You're profitable. Okay? So and again, I'll give you a little pushback. Like you said, oh, it's not easy. Well, what if you reframe that? What if you said, you know what? Hundreds of thousands of other motherfuckers have figured this shit out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it happen. It doesn't have to be complicated. And it's not complicated. You referenced Derek and Tim's podcast a few times here on the show. One of the things that I love about those two guys, and really all of our coaches and stuff, but like those two guys in particular, they have zero emotional attachment to whether they get a job or not.
Yeah, that is true.
Like if it does not fit their criteria of what winning looks like for them, they're totally cool going, hey, Austin, sorry we can't be the contractor for you based on your budget. Super appreciate you reaching out. If things don't work out with someone else, feel free to give us a call back. And they leave it on a good note and they move on to the next one.
Right.
They're not emotionally attached. We're like Tommy Boy with the fucking, sale in the diner, the diner scene, right?
Oh yeah.
Where, because when you have that, we call it a sales assassin mindset inside the Shinfu. When you have that sales assassin mindset where I am only going to take on clients that are a good fit for me. And that means they respect what I do. They want or need what I do. They're willing to find the money for what I do, and they're a joy to work with. Those are my 4 criteria. If they don't check all those boxes, I am not interested in doing the project for them.
Right.
And that's Tim and Derek. And dude, I mean, Derek, I think I've shared this before on the show in years past, probably not in a while. I coached Derek Johnson one-on-one starting back in 2014, 15, somewhere in there. Dude, I'm not going to give like crazy specifics here, but I can tell you he never had like more than 2, 3, 4 grand in his business bank account. He's paying himself 60 to 75,000 a year here and there. And he came in and did 2 things, and we covered those 2 things today. I coached him. I said, number 1, dude, you figure up your costs, you multiply them by 2, and that's your fucking sales rate, and you commit to 50%. He thought I said 60%, by the way. And we got on a call a month or so later and we looked at his numbers. I said, dude, you're killing it. You got this 60% gross profit. He's like, well, that's what you said. I said, no, I said 50. He's like, oh, I thought you said 60.
Wow.
Okay. He just believed it was possible. So he was selling at 60. And to this day, he pretty much does. So that was the number 1 thing he did, is he just said, I'm going to let the numbers tell me what the fucking price is. And number 2, he went all in on our sales training process, and he mastered that bitch. Okay. And when I say he went all in, we were talking about this the other day, several years ago. I think it was 2016 or 2017. In the month of February, he did, inside our program, he did 96 role plays in 28 days.
Wow.
That's how you get good.
Yeah.
You immerse yourself in it and you go all in. And dude, within, like, he started making more money immediately, but he went, no bullshit here. He went from like making 60 to 75 grand a year, running on the fucking hamster wheel, serving all the wrong clients. Within 4 years, he was a multimillionaire.
Wow.
Okay. And I want to say in like an 18-month period, he went from, call it 2 years. He went from 60 to 75 grand a year to 400 grand personal income in, call it 2 years. Because he simply committed to those 2 things.
Yeah, I did hear him.
He didn't overthink it. Back to Tim and Derek, they never overthink shit. And when we start overthinking and making up stories like, oh, they'll never go for this, this is too high, blah, like you got to just push that shit aside. And you do that. I keep hitting this on role plays and your community, because who you hang with really affects how you think and how you show up in the real world. Right?
Sure.
That's what's so powerful about the fight community is we're like, we don't let each other go down the fucking negative Nancy mindset bullshit, right? And we don't let each other play the going rate bullshit games, and people are never going to go. Like, it's not your job to find their money. It's their job to find their money. Your job is to deliver the value that they want, and this is what it costs. That's why bracketing and all that other shit I talked about is so important. Like, I can knock it out of the park for you with a nice bathroom, or I do it with paint jobs all the time. I'm like, hey, you want to sell the house? You said you wanted to paint everything in the house. We painted ceiling, walls, trims, doors, window, all that other shit, and closets. I'm like, you're like 40, 50 grand, whatever. I said, or we can get a color consultant in here. We could just bang out the walls, right? De-scope the job, bang out the walls, keep you in a range that's maybe 15 grand. And you get the outcome of selling your house. You get the same outcome and you spend 30 grand less.
Right.
But I'm still making my 50% because of the way I scoped the project.
I see.
See, a lot of people think, there's two things, and I'll end with this. There's two things. I'm kind of on the soapbox right now because I get fired up. I don't discount, I don't negotiate my price, but I will negotiate timeline and I will negotiate scope of work. So, Austin, you're too much money for this bathroom. Okay, well, I'm just out of curiosity, what were you hoping to spend? Well, you're at 15. We were hoping to spend 9 to 10. Okay, well, what if I weren't able to do that for you? Well, then we're going to have to find somebody else. Okay, I get it.
Right.
Hey, before we go, just out of curiosity, is there anything in the bathroom that you might be able to live without? Maybe we can pull it off the scope of work and we could get you down towards that $10,000 mark. Would that be a conversation you'd like to have? So I'm working to keep the deal alive. Right. But I'm not selling from a point of desperation.
Yeah.
Right. Because you know what it fucking takes. You know what it costs. And you know that you're not a nonprofit.
Right.
You need to make money.
Yeah.
So anyway, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you putting yourself out here like this today. I know it's not easy to share your laundry with the world. And, but hopefully you got, at least one thing you could walk away with today to help you win more immediately. And I really appreciate you being part of the fight, man.
Yeah. If I was how do you join the fight?
You go to thecontractorfight.com, go to coaching and click Battleground.
Contractorfight.com.
And I say that because Battleground is for people already doing $500,000 or more.
Okay.
And that's where all the sales training and the role plays and all that happens there. You get access to me every week for live Q&As with the group where I coach people individually on the group calls. You get access to all our coaches and the calls they run every weekday, every single weekday, unless there's a holiday in America, which what's today? President's Day? We still have one today, but anyway, basically every weekday we have a live sales training role play call with one of our coaches where you literally put into practice our process so that, you're getting punched in practice instead of in real life. Right. And, so to me, it's like annually ends up being like $21 a day, man. It's nothing.
That is nothing.
Like, okay.
Spend that on
and, right. Yeah. I mean, I did a video joking around with guys, but I'm like, a lot of you guys are like, oh, I can't afford, whether the training is with us. Of course, I think it should be with us because I think we're the fucking best. All right. But the point is, guys are like, I don't have money to invest in coaching, training, sales training, whatever. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, you're like, you go to the gas station every morning. You go to the gas station at lunch. You're easily dropping $25, $30 a day, right? Yeah. On energy drinks, fucking coffee and muffins and fast food. Don't tell me you don't have the money. You just don't want it bad enough. Okay. My wife and I were just talking about this, she's in the horse industry and they're selling a horse right now. And, this lady's like, oh, I only have a budget for so much. And then she came and sat on the horse and rode the horse and all this other stuff. And now she's magically shitting the money because people always find the money for things that that are truly important to them. All of us do.
Yeah, that's a fact.
How many times in your life, I know in my life, I'm like, oh, that's not in the budget, but I really want it. So you find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, the only difference is, I want a new car. You need a down payment.
Yeah. You make it happen.
Make it happen.
And it's the cool thing with this. All right. Any training or a book you buy or whatever, dude, if you invest in yourself and your personal development, your growth, your sales skills, whatever, and you implement the things you're taught, then it's not an expense, it's an ROI. Right? Yeah. You drop $8,000 a year for Battleground or whatever the fuck it is today, right? You drop $8,000 if you implement just the role plays. If you just did that, you would put an additional $100,000 to $200,000 in your pocket. Okay? I tell people all the time, it's a minimum of a 10x return.
Right.
So a minimum of $80,000. I see it all the time. I interviewed a guy here on the show not too long ago. He's in our group. His name's Derek. It's not Derek Johnson. It's a different Derek. Derek was doing like $500,000 at like a 21% gross profit and not making any money. Within 12 months, he was doing something stupid like 1.5 or something at a 44% or whatever it was within a year because he took it seriously.
Right.
So, but anyway, this isn't meant to be a pitch. I'm just saying, like, you got to work on your sales skills, man, and be unemotional about the numbers. And when you do that, you will free up your bandwidth to build because relationships, marketing, content, training your teams, recruiting your subs, all those things, you will magically have the bandwidth to do it. And you won't be stuck on that hamster wheel. So my last question for you before we wrap up, if somebody is in your area, your neck of the woods, they're interested in subcontracting for you and partnering with you on some things, how do they find you? So Blose, BLOSE, builds.com. Awesome, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you being here today and taking some time. And thanks again for being part of the fight. Guys, give the show a share, give it a rating or a review. And if you want to apply to be a guest on the Contractor Fight Intervention, go to thecontractorfight.com/intervention and fill out your application. And with that, you guys rock. We got to roll. Thanks again, Austin. And we'll see you guys next time on The Fight.